When you're getting feedback on your culture, it's important to take out the two extremes. You're always going to have the people who will complain about anything and everything. Take those bits of feedback out, unless there's something valuable there. But again, take it with a grain of salt. And the same goes for the people who are going to tell you that you're walking on water no matter what you're doing. It's important to have that tire pump, but it's also good not to read into it and really focus in on the people who are objectively giving you some good feedback. And generally, that's the middle 80% of the feedback that you're going to get. Hello, and welcome to Enter the Nebula, episode 29. My name's Mike Ergo, and this week we're talking about maintaining a great culture. If you haven't yet, I'd recommend going back and watching episode 16, which talks about how to establish a great culture. It's important to first learn how to establish a great culture because before you can maintain one, you need to make sure that you have one. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we face as leaders is being open to hearing about just how good our culture is. Oftentimes, we are the ones who have established it, created it, came up with the idea, and we have a protective nature around that culture. So, hearing feedback from people that maybe it's not what it's cracked up to be can be intimidating. It's important that you know really where your culture stands and how it's being perceived by your people before you go maintaining it, because the last thing you want to do is reinforce different aspects of your culture that aren't being well received by your people. When you're getting feedback on your culture, it's important to take out the two extremes. You're always going to have the people who will complain about anything and everything. Take those bits of feedback out, unless there's something valuable there. But again, take it with a grain of salt. And the same goes for the people who are going to tell you that you're walking on water no matter what you're doing. It's important to have that tire pump, but it's also good not to read into it and really focus in on the people who are objectively giving you some good feedback. And generally, that's the middle 80% of the feedback that you're going to get. Once you've gotten that feedback and you now have determined that the culture you have is good and you want to really maintain it, there's a few things that I think we should focus on as we move forward to maintain that culture as leaders. And the first is really looking at your onboarding and succession plan. More often than not, the cultures as we create them are created in a smaller scale with smaller teams, and it's easier to establish a great culture with a smaller team. But as you scale and as more and more people are brought into your culture, you want to make sure that number one, they're onboarded into that culture appropriately. And having a good onboarding process is key. Making sure that as people join your team, they know that they are supported, that the people around them care, and that they're getting a consistent message from you, your leaders, and their peers. The second that that message is inconsistent, people will start to question whether or not the culture and values that you've created are actually meaningful and are actually going to be carried out. Next is succession planning. And if you're not familiar with succession planning, all it is making sure that as your leaders grow and different people grow within the organization, that there are people in the pipeline to take over their job. Sometimes leaders can feel like the more they make themselves irreplaceable, the more valuable they are to the organization. And on paper, that's kind of true. The more irreplaceable you are, the more irreplaceable you are. But that means you're irreplaceable, which means you can stunt your growth within your organization because there's no one there to take your job. So, really, in a high performing culture or organization, more often than not, leaders are grooming people underneath them to take their jobs so that they can then take the next step. It's important to have these succession plans because, one, it helps prepare people for growth or prepare your organization for someone to potentially leave. That happens at times. And that's not always a bad thing, but it makes sure that there's someone there in the waiting to take their spot. It also helps for more junior folks or folks in the succession pipeline to feel motivated that they're being groomed or prepared for the next step, which ultimately is going to contribute to that great culture. The second thing you want to do, keeping in mind again that scale as more and more people come into your culture or your organization, is to remain inclusive and empathetic. More often than not, you're going to have some original 4 or 5 members that helped start your organization or the group within your company. And it can become cliquey very quick, especially from the perception of someone from the outside who wasn't one of the original people. And it can create a rift within your organization. So maintaining an effort as leadership to be inclusive to all of the people within your culture and within your organization is important. And also to be empathetic to those new people where something may feel weird or not what they're normal to. Meet them where they're at and bring them into your culture instead of scoffing or rolling your eyes or wondering why they haven't caught on yet. They probably haven't caught on yet because they feel alienated or weirded out, or that they're not necessarily supported. So maintaining that sense of inclusivity as well as empathy is going to be key in maintaining a great culture. Finally, you need to embrace evolution. Your culture is going to be great, but it's not going to be the way it was when it started. It's not going to be the way it is now in the future. It's going to evolve. It's going to change, especially as more and more people become part of it. There's going to have to potentially be more rules or some more formalities or governance. And you don't want to lose a sense of who you are at the core, but you also don't want to create a place where there's so much freedom or lack of direction that people are confused and don't feel like they have any sort of understanding of where to go. And that can be a detriment to your culture. So understanding where you are and getting that feedback is key, because that's how you're going to evolve. You're not going to evolve just by single-handedly as the leader watching and seeing what you think is best. You need to be in touch with your people and in touch with the industry that you're in to understand how and when and where you should evolve, and be open about it, because with evolution are going to be some growing pains, and that's okay too, as long as your team and your organization understands that you're committed to sticking to those core values that got you to where you are today. So to quickly recap, if you've verified that your culture is great and that you want to maintain it moving forward, the first thing to do is ensure you have a great onboarding and succession plan. These things are key. It's going to make new people in your organization feel like they're a part of it and buy in quicker. It's also going to make people feel like you're invested in their growth. You also want to make sure that you're being inclusive and operating with empathy as people grow within your organization and within your culture. And then finally, as with almost everything, we always want to continuously improve and evolve as we scale and as we grow and as the world around us changes. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Again, my name's Mike Ergo. You can read the whole article on my website, intellectualnebula.com. I appreciate all the likes, follows, and comments on all the social media networks as I continue to grow my brand. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.